Dünyayı yöneten uzaylı Orionlular ve Stargate kapıları.
And passing inhabitants this direction.
Oh, by other cultures coming this way, but not by us
By
going elsewhere.
by P plus 45s and P plus 52s, both Orions and J-Rods. The treaties were basically inflicted on us by the Orions. As they were enforced upon us by the Orions that we needed to do what we needed to do, when they figured out that we weren't able to handle the issue ourselves, they looked at their own history and said, huh, look at the cavemen and women. Then I found out that because he had carried the attitude that the Magi were not closely watching anything which was like NEOs or any, the near-Earth orbiting asteroids or anything like that. They weren't concerned about it at all. Well, then subsequently during a conversation, I found out that in fact they were. The information from her relative was in fact that they were aware that there would be an Islamic attack upon the United States as early, meaning they were aware as early as the mid-1990s that it would be coming sometime in the new millennium. Well, right on, smack on the beam. The Orions could trust us so much where they could hand us a cube and we misused it to the state that we misused it, where they then had to inflict a treaty system upon us.
But the moon's not like, the most inhabitable planet.
No, but it's the place that we're allowed to be right now.
Okay.
Do I sound like I'm weighing my words? That our emotions affect our state, our physical state. That our orientation to the energies which are available from the cosmos, if you will, affect the state of our DNA, affect the state of our health, and they are applying that as an experimental protocol, a rubric, if you will, to change the state of the people on board so that they can sample them for biological material.
I have a question about the probabilities, Dan. The low probability...
When you ask a question, I'm really serious.
The low probability, according to what I understand, what you said earlier, is 19%. Is that still valid? Because that's still playing Russian roulette with one bullet in a barrel of 5.
Is it not? And actually it's slightly worse than that. In all honesty, it's slightly worse than that because there's only an 85% confidence level to that 19%.
So that doesn't quite sound like we can all relax.
I don't think it's I don't think it's a question. I think we need to do the right things, and there was a correlation to the successful and unsuccessful outcomes, which involved the people of the world being united in purpose for survival and for care for our world. And that's the reason why we did this crazy thing. And it sounded crazy, it looked crazy, but we did it because it was the right thing to do. And I ended up having to send a team of people out, canvassing the regular people of the world and handing flyers out stating that the time had arrived for us to pray for unity. And I would still encourage that seriously and sincerely. I lost people. I was in charge of a team, and some of them died as a result, well, a couple of them from accidents, and that, can happen anywhere. But a couple of them were put to death for proselytizing. And so I bear that on my soul now.
For put to death for proselytizing
in a country where
meaning China.
There was in fact 2 deaths in China, and we also lost some people in Saudi Arabia and a couple other places. I didn't make public how many all we lost or how many all we had, but they did their jobs, and the information was handed out, and we did the best we could. Anyway, you were asking about the Stargate, the possible locations and all of that. On June 16th of 2003, in RV number 0403, Deborah was requested to do a remote viewing session, a sole one, a series of them, in fact, that she conducted, and she found several locations. Among them was, in fact, Voloshanka, and she even said to the north by the tundra in Russia, and in the southwest Tibetan mountains. I'm sorry, I'm still a little bit thinking about my men and women. I don't know how to pronounce this. Mosjoen, M-O-S-J-O-E-N, in Norway. And that was a big, big hullabaloo. There was one actually, the equipment was actually removed from there.
So what you're
Syria,
saying,
Turkey.
You're saying she remote viewed the locations of these of the Stargate.
In fact, she did. And the reason why I reacted to pull this out, in your question, number 9, it says how many LGs were there? How many man-made Stargates? Where are they? And you gave a list of possible countries. In that list, you mentioned Bulgaria.
Right.
Well, on the second page of it, she's got the Pirin Mountains in Bulgaria listed. So I just wanted to kind of let you know.
Thank you.
And a couple points in Egypt, and she didn't, in fact, in this one mention Iraq, because she was working separately for Iraq. On February the 4th of 2003, she did a special RV. Says, I came up with the following in my session. I saw a place 10 miles south-southeast of Baghdad. This, by the way, is a place where we ended up actually raiding and removing what they thought were rings for what they called weapons of mass destruction. Well, there were rings, all right, but it was a different kind of weapon of mass destruction. I pictured a big tree on the ground surface of this location. Now think about how Saddam was finally found.
Yes.
Behind the tree, there was a hole in the ground that had a piece of wood over it. I saw a man looking and feeling like Saddam have a guard lift the wood over the hole. Saddam then entered the hole and jumped into what looked like a platform at the top of a set of stairs. In remote viewing, I don't remote view, but in remote viewing, from everything I understand from her, time gets mixed up, overlaid, and sometimes
Yes.
off-shifted.
Yes.
And she clearly saw him in the spider hole. Mm-hmm. She also indicated that she found the work area down there, and in fact drew the work area, which they ended up finding the one gate in Iraq. Interesting stuff, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are kind of getting off the topic a little bit.
That's good.
Of, of Stargates and all that.
Am I causing that?
I'm sorry?
So am I causing that? I hope not.
We know that Kaela escaped through a Stargate with your assistance. That was described in one of our last videos.
Yeah.
And
E.T. went home.
Yes, E.T. went home.
Yep.
And the interesting thing about that is that you also had an experience in which you sort of fell into the Stargate and then kind of didn't go all the way, so you stayed in this reality.
Well, kind of.
Kind of?
I was expelled several yards away onto a slab of, it was either limestone or granite, I'm not really sure, or sandstone. All I know is that it was hard when I landed on it. And it was on the other side of the tarpaulin over, the area was separated, human ET side, for the actual staging around the Stargate. It was the military operation. And I ended up on the other side of the barriers, which were like raised curtains, so that the people around the area who were actual inhabitants of the area couldn't see. And I landed on that, and I moaned or groaned or was wondering where I was, and was in fact then approached by men in guns who were very upset with me. But
okay, but you saw the inside of a wormhole, right? Momentarily?
oh, I can't really say that. There was a gray curtain, almost a misty type curtain, very similar to what I remember during the time that I was in a coma back in the 70s. And I saw certain things on the other side, but it was a flash, and that was about it, and nothing really remarkable to talk about.
Okay, so you never went through, all the way through. I mean, I'm asking, did
No,
you,
I was
have you?
No,
I know
I
you
did
had
not
that
end up, I do
experience.
not remember ending up anywhere else.
Have you ever gone through a
No,
Stargate
no,
in,
no,
in
no,
your
no,
capacity?
no, and no, there are no rotating ring-like devices where men with military equipment walk through and meet Ra on the other side and bring their nuclear weapons with them. No, no. There are, yes, I'm being derogatory towards Serpo.
Well, I thought that you were talking about Stargate.
Well, that's what Serpo came from. I mean, you know, this list of, well, we've got our nuclear weapon with us and all of this business, and they could have picked something better than the name Serpo if they were going to go with it. But Serpo it's a reptile park in, what is it, Argentina or the Netherlands? It's the name of a reptile park.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was picked more by the former ops who were actually putting the disinfo together. And what they did is they just simply took a name and they turned it backwards. It was Opress.
Okay,
it's
but
a
there was
it's
no
a K4
Stargate
code.
in Serpo, in the Serpo story, as told to people.
Okay.
Okay, but so,
There's no Stargate in the Serpo.
that's what I said.
Yeah, sorry.
So what I'm asking is, we have Stargates, okay, that have been decommissioned,
Yeah.
okay, which access time travel technology.
Yeah.
Okay. These Stargates, before they were decommissioned, we must assume were used.
They were used for passing information and passing inhabitants this direction.
Oh, by other cultures coming this way, but not by us going elsewhere?
By P+45s and P+52s, both Orions and J-Rods.
What about all the other, I mean, I don't know if you're party to this, but how many other races are out there?
I am aware of one interdimensional species that won't speak with us directly and was communicating via the Orions, the P+52 Orions. That's it.
Okay, so
You know, and I've been 20 years. It's confusing to me because I've got so many people with such great certitude. And I've been 20 years around these people, and either they were the greatest hiders in the world, even while drunk, and some of them drunk and recreationally drunk. And that's the way I should put that. Comes with large amounts of money. Sometimes they pay for products to make them feel good or whatever. I have never, you know, it's been a joke. I hate to put it this way, but a lot of the UFO community, like to them, the stories have been a joke. And a lot of them have been proffered by the folkloristics unit in Majestic. They actually promulgated a lot of these stories. And now they hand me the bag to come out here and go, boo, you know, sorry, the boogeyman ain't real, I guess.
okay.
The only thing that I'm aware of are the P+45s and the P+52s. The intergrades between them over the 7,000 years between them cannot be contacted per treaty. The P+52 J-Rods and Orions I'm aware of, and the P+45 J-Rods. At the time the P+45s were around, they were unaware that the P+52 Orions, which would then be P+45 Orions, even existed. They didn't even know that they still survived at the time. And they only found out as a consequence of coming here in the treaty negotiations.
Okay, but what about you're telling me the Stargates were only used one way by...
Used two
by the
ways, but one way
Orions.
by transport for delegates in.
Okay.
And
from
that
other
was only
planets.
under extreme circumstances involving international uproar, where there were problems with the treaties. Aside from that, products were exchanged back and forth and information was exchanged. But it was deemed too dangerous to be handing people back and forth regularly. These things collapse, from what I understand, spontaneously. And if it collapses and you are not out one side or in the other, you're nowhere.
Okay, so you're telling me that these people had such a conscience, they were not sacrificing Americans or other, or military people to test the stargates?
No, no. The treaties were basically inflicted on us by the Orions. As they were enforced upon us by the Orions that we needed to do what we needed to do, when they figured out that we weren't able to handle the issue ourselves, they looked at their own history and said, huh, look at the cavemen and women. Okay? After we acted the way that we acted involving the cube and all of that business, they inflicted the treaty system on us. And they said, you will behave this way. We don't have the ability to just take a Stargate and to step through onto the other side without violating a treaty. They don't want us out there. We are dangerous to ourselves.
Okay.
So why would we not be dangerous to another culture? They are sure as hell not going to let us off this planet.
Can I ask you?
Just ask about Montauk and about Henry's experience.
Well, yes, but
I still, believe it or not, I still have not read about what Montauk is. And sitting here right now, I have zero clue what it even is.
Okay, that's cool. What about the Philadelphia experiment? You're familiar with that?
I'm familiar with the reports of the USS Eldridge.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the unified field theory testing that went on. In fact, the unified field theory testing did go on, but it made something which was, from what I understand,